Many
Well,
better
also-
options.
I don't want to talk about many Amazon companies, but also we've
Yeah.
already talked about that on this show before. So,
And also, we don't want to necessarily burn bridges, considering one of us is employed with.
Oh,
certain places, yes.
Hmm.
Also, as a service, I like Audible quite a bit. So,
Oh, I do too.
I've still never been able to get into audiobooks.
I come and go, but Audible
Yeah.
is the way I would do it, even given their ownership. So,
I come and go too, but like I feel like Audible does a decent job of it.
yes.
Yeah,
Especially with
qualitatively.
like the stuff like credits and that you can keep your books.
I saw people giving I saw recently like, oh, here's a bunch of like better alternatives to Audible, but like part of it's like, oh, libraries have access to like audiobooks and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like through apps. So there's like limited licenses, so maybe you have to wait a little bit, but you can still get those audiobooks and stuff like
Yep, that's a good point.
But
libraries
also
will, so.
a lot of people have Prime, so I think they get some Audible stuff with Prime.
I don't know.
I'm not positive though.
So should I read out my statement first? And then
Up to you. If you'd
Pat
like to read it now, we can do that. Or if you'd like to like read it after, you can do that. And then it'll get edited to the front.
I think it might be better to do it first, just so that
Sure.
we can get it out there, and then we can kind of move on to games.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works for me.
Okay, so I'll read mine out first, and then Pat can jump in and add the additional stuff.
Sounds good.
All right. Today, I would like to start off this episode of Gaming Fix on an uncharacteristically somber note. As we are recording this on May 30th, 2020, we are still all reeling in the aftermath of the tragic murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. As a resident of Minneapolis myself, I want to express my sorrow over his death and disappointment in the Minneapolis Police Department, not only in the murder, but in how the protesters in my city have been treated. Police brutality, racism, and inequality within the justice system must be stopped, period. That being said, it has warmed my heart to see the people of Minneapolis react with such fervor and responding with protests that have reached the rest of the United States. People like these protesters are what make me proud to be a Minnesotan. I urge everyone listening to this to donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund if you have the means, and to keep protesting and support the protesters. Black Lives Matter, and George Floyd deserves justice.
And if you have the means to donate and would like to donate to additional places that also need funding in this time, there are fundraisers. There's a fundraiser for George Floyd's family set up as a memorial fund that you can find on GoFundMe if you search for his name. There's the Brooklyn Bail Fund, which you can also find to help people protesting in New York City. There's the Black Visions Collective in Minnesota, which is run by queer and trans Black folks who are doing work on the ground to support protesters. There's the North Star Health Collective, also operating in Minnesota, with medics on the ground providing healthcare for protesters at the scene. There's a Louisville Community Bail Fund for folks in Louisville who are protesting both the murder of George Floyd and the murder of Breonna Taylor. There's the Columbus Freedom Fund for protesters that are protesting in Columbus, support their bail. And we also feel pretty strongly that we're not the best voices for you to listen to when it comes to this stuff. I'm sure that we could all talk about this for hours on an episode, but we are very white voices, and we think that the best place for you to learn more is from the proper perspective. And so it's our goal to elevate and share the Black voices in our communities who are really who you should be looking to for guidance on these issues. If you're a listener of our show, one of those great voices in the gaming space is Spawn on Me, hosted by Khalif Adams. He had a wonderful panel on his episode this week, which you can find on podcast apps probably next week. But if you go to twitch.tv/spawnonme. You can find the VOD of that episode now. It was Khalif himself. He had Blessing from Kind of Funny on. He had Cam Hawkins, who is a great content creator. He had Paris from Gamertag Radio, Zombie Kills, who's an awesome streamer, and Pikachulita, who is also a great streamer. And we highly encourage you to go give that episode a listen because it's very important and it puts all these issues into a perspective that we could never do. So with that, we want to bring some fun and normalcy into your weekend. We know this is a rough weekend for a lot of people, so hopefully some regular game talk might be able to do that. So we have our regular episode.
All right. Do you both feel good about that?
Yeah.
Do you want to like retake on anything or?
No, I'm pretty okay with it.
Unless there's something that you think I should, but I think I'm.
No. It sounded like natural speaking. You had like a few ums and ahs. But
I know.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think that's okay.
If you need them removed, I can remove them. It's not a big deal.
I think it's better if it sounds like it's from the heart and not just totally scripted.
Yeah.
So
Agreed. I'm fine
Yeah.
leaving it in.
All right.
Cool.
I just want to make sure everyone feels good about what they said, how they said it. Okay.
all right.
Make sure everything's still recording. Okay. Hello and welcome to episode 123 on May 30th, 2020 of Gaming Fix. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite home appliance. I am joined today by Alex.
I don't know what my favorite home appliance is.
No, not yours, your partner's.
I know, but, well, whoa.
Don't we all have partners in ourselves too?
Yeah, I mean your internal partner. That's true.
Whoa.
Allison.
I don't know what my internal partner's favorite home appliance is. I just got an air fryer / toaster oven for my birthday, and that seems like it's going to be pretty neat. So
Everybody's talking about air fryers these days.
they are, yeah. But mine's pretty legit. It's like basically on my countertop, and it's like a little convection oven on my countertop, and I really like it. So I'm excited to use it.
The company I work for also happens to sell air fryers because one of the manufacturers we sell. Turns out when you work in internet retail, I'm not going to say exactly where I work, but when you work in internet retail, internet retailers sell a lot of different things because you have manufacturing partners who are like, hey, we have 1,200 air fryers extra this production cycle. Do you want them?
And you go, yeah, okay.
And you go, if they're cheap, and then you sell them on Amazon with a new storefront that you make that is tied to, and then that storefront suddenly becomes a major part of your business and no one knows about it.
I'm surprised, but okay.
Anyway,
maybe we know where Allison got her air fryer now.
Yeah, it's possible. We sell a very specific brand of air fryers.
Yeah, no.
I doubt it's this one.
Yeah. They haven't sponsored us, so I'm not going to say the brand, but it's pretty well-known brand.
Also, that is Pat, who so rudely interjected before his turn.
I know. I just had to get on the air fryer train because I get excited about air fryers, and now everybody else is excited about them too. My favorite
Emil from Bon Appetit. He's never excited about the air fryer.
Well, yeah, but
I feel like he's trying to make like legit.
Yeah,
that's
because he would find like a special oil that actually gets heated up by the sun and creates like slow fried delicious things over like days of being in a chamber in your backyard or something. Like, I don't got time for that.
Yeah, you just want pakoras real fast.
For what it's worth, I want a deep fryer personally. I respect the air fryer game, but I want.
Yeah. For me, it's like mostly like, you know, heating up a full oven to cook me like a single serving of thing. Meat, yeah.
Cook a single pizza pocket.
No, I get it.
Like a single like serving of like, say, fish or something. It's nice to have something where I can like kind of easier So.
Air fryers are both better for you and much more convenient. For me, there's something about the like action of dropping a basket of fries in a fryer. I'm just like, I need to have that.
Also, there's
someday I will have that in my life again.
Like, my parents have an air fryer too, and like they've made quite a bit of like really good stuff in it. But also, it's like not the same as like
you can't make fried chicken in an air fryer. Like there are just some things that just it doesn't work right.
Yeah,
but like the way it cooks is just not right. That I'm sure you can make great things in an air fryer, but
right, it's just not the same.
No, yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
You gotta work within your means. And,
Anywho,
I don't know, man.
Air fryer chat.
Yeah, this is our new podcast for gaming air fryer.
You know, I bet there's not a lot of podcasts about kitchen like appliances.
Oh, I bet there are.
I mean, I'm sure that they exist. I just bet like
I'm saying we could corner the market.
Yeah, if you start a gaming podcast, there's like thousands of gaming podcasts.
Oh yes,
yeah,
but I bet there's only like a half dozen appliance podcasts.
All right, appliance fix. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then we could get people to send us appliances to review.
I'll come at you with my review of my new refrigerator in the coming weeks.
Perfect. You should publish it on the website.
I'll do it.
Oh man.
Don't tempt me.
I'm serious. I'll start reviewing the appliances in my apartment, but they all suck. So
hey, you got to start somewhere.
That's the other thing about getting like a countertop thing that's really nice is that it's like I can't replace my stove or my oven or my fridge because I live in a rented apartment.
Yeah.
But hey, here's a brand new shiny thing that I can take.
Come to Japan where your apartment comes with nothing. You have to provide your own light fixtures.
That's so weird.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's my kitchen and my bathroom had lights, but no other room in my apartment had lights.
It's just apartment renting culture in the US is pretty singular from what I have seen from going to other places. Maybe it's similar in Canada, I'm not sure, but I know like when I was in France, someone talked about how they had an apartment, like beautiful apartment, like overlooking the river. And I was like, wow, what's the rent there? And they were like, rent? Because they own the apartment because that's how it works there is people don't buy houses, obviously, because that city is 1,000 years old, more than that.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And it's very like, I don't know, like the whole American, like you can't change anything, otherwise they'll be mad and steal your entire deposit. It's very interesting.
That's a way to put it. You know what else is interesting? Video games.
Hey.
They certainly are interesting.
Sometimes. Like this video game, Sludge Life.
Yeah.
That Allison has been playing.
Yeah. So it came out this past week. It's basically it was released by some devs, and then also I don't know if it was developed or just released by Devolver Digital, which if you've played the game, you're kind of like, yeah, this is Devolver. Yeah. But it's I think it's either on the Switch or going to be on the Switch, but it's also on the Epic Game Store on PC, and it's free for an entire year. So if you like the sound of that, like go get it for free, because it's an interesting game. It's very weird. It's extremely weird.
It's got a cat with 2 buttholes.
I know, and I haven't seen the cat.
So what is the game? I mean, you've already sold me with the cat with two buttholes, but what's the rest of it?
Yeah, no, I was like, what? I'm like, what else do you want, Alex? That sounds like it's perfect for you.
I mean, it's pretty much there.
So basically, you're a graffiti artist / tagger on basically in a world where the ground is basically covered like with this kind of sludge life, and you're going around and you tag everything, kind of exploring this entire area, and you start kind of see things about it. Like I played like an hour or two the other day, and it's hard to know what / if the story or how it is. Because I know there's multiple endings, but I really haven't seen it yet, anything like that yet, because so far it's mostly like you are exploring an island and or like I don't even know if it's an island, but like you're exploring all these like things that are coming out of this sludge and finding places where you can graffiti things, and it's just very extremely weird.
So,
like I was exploring like an apartment building, and I'm going into an apartment, and there's just a giant baby, and you're just like, what?
Yes.
At one point, I ate a
CPS.
banana slug, and and nothing happened. But I was just like, what did I do? But then I also at one point ate a mushroom in game, and that turned into an experience.
Oh yeah.
So
This game sounds rad.
This game is really rad. So the one thing that I would say is that's my only complaint is a big portion of the game's actual gameplay is basically a first person platformer, which is not my favorite genre. Like, and I don't know if it does it quite great. It's not. The stakes are pretty low. Absolute worst case scenario, if you fall and die, is that you wake up in a hospital and that's it. And then you walk out and there's no real consequences. But it made me feel a little bit like disoriented when I was playing it. And I'm sure that the kind of surreal atmosphere didn't really help. Sure. So it's something that I really would like to get it back in and finish, but its gameplay is kind of like, it feels kind of at certain, like once you get a lot of the kind of more obvious places that you can graffiti stuff, it feels kind of like you're fighting against the gameplay to get the rest of the game.
I feel like first person platforming is one of the most hit or miss things in video games as like a whole, because there's so much bad first person platforming out there.
Yeah, and I don't think this is necessarily the worst, but it's not the best. I'm adding it to the list of, I found out about these off-peak games, which are like these really weird art games that are on Steam. And I never actually have played through Jazzpunk before. So I'm kind of like... I need to... I've never played through it too, but I really I should. I've
seen most of Jazzpunk from watching people play it, so I'm very familiar with it. But like, I definitely am and kind of planning on going on like an evening kick of short, weird ass indie art games. 'Cause I dig that aesthetic for sure.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what it really is above and below the best part of Sludge Life. So even if like the idea of first person platforming, first person 3D platforming isn't necessarily your cup of tea, which like I don't know if it's even mine, even though I liked Mirror's Edge quite a bit, but I think it's still totally worth it to play, especially as kind of like an weird indie art piece.
Yeah.
So it's totally worth it. But it's also worth it because you can get it for free now. So that certainly helps. But it's a really interesting game. It has very much a kind of grimy, kind of lo-fi aesthetic that's very appealing too. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It reminds me of like somewhere between jazz punk, like you were saying, and Ape Out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, like in the 90s when there was a very like there's a very specific 90s, like especially like for like kids media of like, this is disgusting kind of aesthetic.
Sure, like
Yeah.
It feels like it's kind of going for
Totally.
that.
Yes, it has that look for sure. Also, weirdly, a little bit like Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, I mean the graffiti definitely helps with that, but it's
Totally, yeah.
Rocco's modern jet set radio. Got
Is
there,
that?
man.
Did you just come up with the title for this episode?
That's a. Can you just think for a second? Do you, if you had to get rid of either Rocco's Modern Life or Jet Set Radio, which one would you get rid of?
Jet set
I feel
radio.
like really.
It's a toss up for me.
I have never actually played
Rocco.
Jet Set Radio, and I really loved Rocco's Modern Life as a kid, and
Those are two great
so-
things.
There's someone is making, maybe it's not like a Jet Set Radio, but it's a rollerblading game that looks pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't remember what it's
definitely
called.
inspired by, for sure. I know what you're talking about. I don't know. what it's
but I've
called
only
either.
played like the tutorial of Jet Set because like the PC port wasn't playing nice with my controller, and it just felt, or maybe it just feels bad to play.
It's not great
Are you thinking of Neon Tail?
now.
Yes,
I think it was
maybe
Neon Tail, if I'm remembering right.
that very possibly. Is it out? No. Yes. Oh, it came out. Came out last year. It's got positive on Steam. I saw it at what's the Bit Summit. I saw it at Bit Summit, and it looked pretty sweet. But it was like I didn't realize it was almost done. So yeah, Neon Tail. Maybe I should check that out.
Or
Okay, well,
maybe you should check out Sludge Life.
yeah, well that too,
or
but that's
both.
free. So yeah.
it's true.
Oh, okay. No, it's in early access. Neon Tail's in early access.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Dimension
but it's
Disaster.
I am a big proponent of like check out indie games that are like indie art games. So I definitely recommend checking it out, especially since it just has just a kind of a very unique vibe to it that I don't know if other games really have. So
Cool.
What about the other thing you've been playing?
I played a lot, and I'm kind of ashamed at how much. Bravely Default this past week. So I briefly I was looking through my apartment and I dug out my 2DS. I have the 2DS new 2DS, so it's the one that has the kind of clamshell,
Oh, so not the slab.
not the slab. No, I had yeah, no, I had a regular 3DS XL, but then I got this one because it was the new 2DS, and also I really just don't use the 3D. Like, didn't really use it, so upgrading to this was not a bad thing. But yeah, so I'm very interested in Bravely Default 2, which is coming out sometime. And I realized I had only played a really very little of the first Bravely Default back in the day. So I decided to pull it out and have been playing it quite a bit, and I've gotten very into it. And I am honestly just been really surprised by it, in that the story and the characters are a lot more interesting than I think I originally assumed they would be. Because there is a very like interesting kind of very pertinent message of kind of systemic oppression of people, and it's very interesting just how specific they're going to get with discussing things like capitalism and you know like other kind of systems like that. So it's very good. And I'm really interested to see where it goes. I'm playing it on normal, and I don't know how hard this game is for other people, but a couple of the bosses have been really difficult. But I think that a lot of it is really like you have to be really strategic when it comes to like figuring out builds and when you're figuring out actual combat. So that's been pretty fun to explore. I don't know if I like since it was the same team as Octopath Traveler, and I'm the Octopath Traveler defender of this podcast. I don't know if I quite like. I feel like the overarching story is maybe better than Octopath, but I really liked the characters and kind of individual stories in Octopath, and I think I liked the gameplay systems better in Octopath. But it's still it's scratching a similar itch, so I'm very happy about that.
That's cool. Is this your first time playing it, or did you actually play it? Like
I played like a couple hours of it, but I didn't really get very far.
It's interesting because part of the reason that Octopath's like individual character stories, I would totally agree, are better than the way that Bravely Default has a more traditional JRPG method of storytelling. And I think the thing I like most about Octopath, having only played like halfway through it, although I should play it because it's a good bike switch game, is better. Like I like that method of delivery. But it's interesting you say that because part of the reason that I think I bounced off of Octopath a little bit is because I liked the gameplay mechanics in Bravely Default so much that when I got to Octopath, I was kind of like, oh, this doesn't have quite the same. It didn't feel as dynamic, I guess, to me.
Interesting.
So I would be interesting to look at them both back to back again.
Yeah, because I haven't really played Octopath in a very long time, so it might be interesting to kind of pull that up on my Switch.
And I haven't either, because I'm remembering that feeling, but I could be misremembering. It may not have been as justified, but I remember Octopath having a much more traditional sort of JRPG combat system where it was like you have you're doing magic and pressing attack and stuff, and something about the way that Bravely Defaults, like I don't know if stances is the right word, but like the way that that the flow of combat in that game feels a little more dynamic than a lot of JRPGs to me.
Octopath does have like kind of a you build up like
there's like meter.
Yeah. And I really liked it, especially closer. Like I liked it throughout, but when you start being able to figure out really specific kind of combos between all of the characters, I feel like that was really satisfying in a way that I know that you can start doing that in Bravely Default, but I don't know if I'm maybe there yet. And I feel like there a lot of the kind of enemy strengths and weaknesses was a lot more prominent in Octopath, which I thought was interesting, especially when some of the enemies started kind of playing with that as a, like some of the bosses would kind of cycle through weaknesses. And
I don't think I went deep enough on Octopath to really get to that point.
Yeah.
Either. So I think
whereas there's certainly like some of that in here, but also when it comes to weaknesses, there might be enemies where it's like a boss where it's like, I don't know, it doesn't have weaknesses. You just kind of have to brute force it, which I think the kind of like Octopath where you can kind of break down their defenses, and then that's when all of you attack, and like you kind of that rhythm of it. It's different. I think that there's definitely a rhythm of it in here, especially with some of the bosses, because there's one that I had to retry a couple of times, where you just have to time your attacks it's just different.
Yeah.
So but it's still kind of scratching a similar itch, and I'm very much enjoying it. Also, I feel like the thing that's very weird, like on a kind of a different note about Bravely Default, is that man, the vibe of the game is so kind of different than the art style.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
it's a very dark, like serious, like brutal kind of world and story for sure.
And you're like, wait, like you realize, like I realized kind of midway through, I was like, hang on, these characters that you're defeating, they're straight up dead.
Yeah.
And,
there's no like KO'd or like, oh, we're not, they're like, you are murdering. Well, murdering is, you're on the right side, but
right. But at the same time, you're kind of like they're talking about like, oh, this character was straight up assassinated. And
yes,
like you get all this stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, these are like these look like anime children.
Yes. Yeah, that was part of why I ended up connecting with like what I played. I actually didn't finish Bravely Default, but I played most of the way through it. And part of why I played it as long as I did is because of how compelling a lot of that stuff is.
So yeah, you have like this chibi art style, and then it's like, oh no, they killed the Vestal of Water, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What? This feels not.
The cute,
not like what the art of the game sold me, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it was just very interesting when I'm like, wait, what are we? Yeah. This isn't pulling punches, which has been kind of fun.
Totally.
It's a series I've not approached, but with Bravely Default 2 coming to Switch, maybe I'll check it out.
It would be great if they would port the first one to Switch, even if they didn't change anything about, like, they don't need to do a like Xenoblade update to it, I don't think, because its art style is such that, you know, if you could port it to, the biggest work would be the resolution change, I think. From there, like if you could just like kind of do a little bit of UI work to make it work and just put it out for $30 or $40 or something, that would be,
or even just cool. Have a double pack of Bravely Default and Bravely Second and full 60 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I would play Bravely Default. I mean, I won't, let's be honest, but I in theory would play Bravely Default again because I like that game a lot.
You would consider it at least.
Totally. I would buy it. I would buy it. That's for sure. Would I play it?
I'm about 20 something hours in, and not really slowing down. So I don't know if I'll play. Game. Yeah. Yeah. Especially since I know I don't know the story, but I vaguely know that it's longer than you might think. So I don't know if I'll pick up play Bravely Second right after this, but especially since I may have impulse bought Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for Switch. So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with it, and anything that gives me, even though they're very different, like some of those Octopath vibes, I'm pro.
You can tell they were made by the same studio,
right, absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's good that it's kind of interesting though that they made that, like, you can tell that they're made by the same team, but also that they didn't just kind of sit on this game and go, we made a good thing, let's just keep going. Like, that they decided to try and do something different.
Totally.
All right. Well, that's all very exciting, and hopefully your journey through Bravely Default continues to be a pleasant one. And Bravely Default 2 ends up being good. It's supposed to be out sometime this year. Is the demo still available?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
So, like with Octopath, they did like a limited time thing, I believe.
Yeah, but especially since they're doing the same thing with Bravely Default 2 as they did with the Octopath, where they're using feedback to kind of help.
That's such a cool trend too.
Yeah.
I don't know how much,
so it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how much it actually, but like the Daemon X Machina studio did that too, and it seemed like in that case it actually was in a I don't want to say saved, but in a way it's what made that game like pretty good is because
Mm-hmm.
the demo they put out had a lot of issues, and then they took a lot of feedback, and the final game ended up being great. So
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that they're using that as a kind of a positive, not only with just, hey, we're putting out demos so that other people can get interested in the game, but also use it as a positive for development. So I think that's good.
It's interesting that it's not Nintendo necessarily doing it, but it's games on Nintendo consoles, which often have like the worst like online but it's not necessarily like the online stuff is necessary for this stuff, but it's like very critical to this is getting the demo out, and Nintendo tends to kind of botch their community stuff.
yeah.
But
I think part of it.
so it's interesting seeing that being the forefront, the Switch being the forefront of this. Like, we're to put out this demo 6 months, a year in advance and get feedback on it. Whereas normally with beta tests on like PS4, Xbox, or PC, it's like, oh yeah, we're checking out like netcode to make sure that the servers don't explode and kind of work at least a little bit once the day one numbers die down.
Well, with a lot of games and other consoles too, you have the, okay, we'll release it, and then if there's issues that we find out through releasing it, we'll patch it later, which doesn't necessarily is not. I'm trying to think. I don't think Nintendo really ever does that very much. They tend to just really want to be like, okay, we put out a game at release that works. I mean, there might still be some patches and performance adjustments and things, but they're not going to completely adjust the game after launch. So that might be part of it too. But
I mean, like this is Square Enix,
right?
And
yeah.
So
it's not. It's not Nintendo developed, but I don't know.
It's just interesting that the Switch is the forefront of that.
Yeah, because the Switch is not the forefront of a lot of things.
Not
so
I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. Well, since we're on this JRPG moment, Pat, I think you briefly mentioned Xenoblade.
Yeah.
A bit ago.
I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, just because I was like, I kind of want to check it out and play it. I played the original Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm one of the weird people that, while I absolutely understand why everybody loved the 3DS so much, I just never connected with that console in the same way. So I prefer the Switch. Like, anytime I can play a game on the Switch instead, there's certainly games that I just was like, I don't really want to play this on this machine, which Xenoblade was one of those, because it's kind of it's a single player MMO really. And that was just like, the UI was too much for me to deal with on the 3DS and felt like a barrier. So I picked it up on Switch, and playing the first hour again, like, the combat's cool. It's very much that single player MMO. You start battles and everyone draws their weapons, and then you walk up and then they start auto attacking, and then you select abilities on a hotbar that you D-pad through, and that's like the way that game works. It has really deep interaction between the characters in your party. There's lots of different states that you can put enemies in that you can exploit with other characters, which is very cool. And so I think it's cool in that respect. The one thing about it, though, an hour in, is like, I did the opening part and fought a few battles, and then you go into the first town, and I think I spent, of my hour playing while exercising, I spent like a half hour of it walking around picking up quests.
That's how I play games too.
They are quests like, I lost my key to my apartment. Could you find it? And then you go to the exclamation point on the map in the city, and there's a collectible there, and you pick it up, and then it says quest complete. And you don't even go back and turn it in. It's just like, you found this person's key. There was one character that was like,
into their apartment.
There was one character, it was like this weird little puffy cat thing that I talked to, and they literally were like, I've lost it. I can't sleep without it. And I got a quest, and the description was like, find the thing that helps them sleep. And then I walked down the street and around a corner and picked up a bauble, and then it was like, quest complete, done. I was like, what are we doing here?
It's a different time for game design.
I have quests. There's one guy who you talk to, and I talked to him, and he's like, oh, there's some of these crabs on the beach outside of town. They're going to hurt some kids. Could you go fight them? And it's like, kill 5 crabs. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then he still has an exclamation point. And then he's like, oh, there's some bats on near this cave outside of town. They're going to hurt some kids. Could you go fight them? And it's like, kill 4 bats. And then he's still got the exclamation point. It's like, oh, there's some rabbits outside of town. They're really bothering the crops. Could you go kill some of them? And it's just, I like talked to him 4 times to get all of his go kill the generic enemies around the town quests. So
sounds like we're very similar. That like you see an exclamation point in a game and you're like, I can't just leave that alone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's how I play games, but I think like the combat is good, and I'm not actually trying to condemn the game too hard, because I think like the concept of the world is literally a titan from ages past that is dead, and the environments are all parts of its body and shit. That's so cool. And like the story itself is, from what I understand, very good. So and a lot of the side quest stuff you can completely ignore. So if you don't care about that, you don't have to engage with all this stuff. But for me playing it, I was like, okay, I have like 37 quests now. And they're all like, go to these spots and kill 5 things or pick up some shit. And it definitely felt like weird, like very like, oh, this really is a single player MMO. And it's not just like when you play World of Warcraft now, they exist, but it's not really, there's a lot more story around the quests now. And even if it is ultimately an objective to go kill 5 bears or something, it's not as blatantly like one line of dialogue and then it shows up on your UI. This feels almost like a Korean MMO, that is, in the way that it's like very much a, just like, we don't really have a lot of justification for this, but here's an XP boost if you spend 5 minutes doing this thing, which is weird. But otherwise, I don't know. Seems it's the characters are cool. The voice acting is a little hit or miss, but when it's a miss, it's funny. So I don't really. It's good.
Have you
like
seen a nude Shulk?
Is that a thing?
I mean, you can get him like shirtless and Smash. I don't know.
I've not seen him shirtless yet.
I need you to generate a nude Shulk.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. If I see a nude Shulk, I'll screenshot it for you.
There's like I think it's an Adult Swim thing.
Oh, it's from Tony, right?
Yeah. Generate a nude Tane.
I
can't
honestly think about him saying nude Tane like all the time.
Apparently Justin McElroy saw Paul Rudd somewhere and he went up and he said, I need you to generate me a nude Tane. And he just stared at him and he said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. How about a picture of Smiling Oyster instead?
That sounds like, I was hoping, that sounds like the way that Paul Rudd would respond.
That makes me really happy.
Paul Rudd is one of my favorite actors, and I've always gotten the impression that he's just a total weirdo in a pretty benign way. And that makes me glad that,
Yeah. Pat, just a quick question. Did you ever play Dragon Age Inquisition?
Yes, not enough. That's one of those gaps that I should go back and fill, because I like Dragon Age
a lot, actually. Because some of these, the ways that you describe these quests very like kind of remind me of when you start getting out into the field in Dragon Age Inquisition and you're like, oh, here's 1,000 things to do.
Frankly, I think from what I played like one zone of Dragon Age Inquisition. I think Dragon Age Inquisition might handle some of that stuff a little better. Just in terms of like that game. So like the best questing in an MMO is in Guild Wars 2, in my opinion, which is you go to places and stuff is happening there, and then through either environmental storytelling or an NPC, you learn about what's happening, and then you just do the thing. There is no like, I've accepted this quest. It's like, oh, you went to a farm. They need help picking apples. They need help dealing with pests, and they need help like to set traps, and they need help killing these worms. And any 3 of those actions will get you closer to quest completion. And it's then you just do it, and then when you do it, it's done. You don't have to talk to anybody at any point to like do dialogue. So like this is kind of the opposite end of that, where you're talking to people, but at least you don't have to go back and turn them in most of the time.
Yeah.
It's mostly, it feels like weird to me because it's like, why is this even here? what's the like? I got 400 experience for talking to a lady who wanted me to bring a casserole to her grandson, or cookies or something to her grandson. And then I walked to the other side of town and talked to him, and he went, "Oh, grandma's cookies. These are great. Thanks." And then that's it. Like, that's the stuff that I'm just like, why, what are we doing? Why do we do this? What's the point? So I think that's the thing that's weird to me. At least in Dragon Age, it felt like more like they were tools to help you get gear and level up if you needed.
Yeah, I just know that was the thing that has kept me from actually finishing that game.
Sure.
It's something that I really want to go finish eventually, but I know some of those quest designs are what made me go like kind of bounce off of that game. So I'm interested to see what happens to me with Xenoblade. With
Xenoblade, one of the great things that they included in this, and then we can move on, is there's a casual mode and an expert mode. Both of them, I don't remember exactly what they do, but they basically make it so that if you're behind the leveling curve, you don't have to grind by playing casual mode. And if you're ahead of the leveling curve, because you did a bunch of side quests, expert mode basically like brings your level down to whatever you're fighting, so that it's not super easy. So there's a lot of tools in there so that you can ignore a lot of that side shit. I just can't do that. And
no, I'm bad at that too.
I wanted this game as a fairly mindless thing. I wanted this game to be something that I can treat as very mindless if I'm in the mood for mindless, or play through the story if I'm in the mood to pay more attention and actually have dialogue and stuff. So it's fine. I'm not really complaining. I just think if you need to know going in what Xenoblade is, I think, because I think a lot of the discourse around that game and the reviews and stuff are like, oh, this brilliant JRPG. It is a single player ass MMO, and that's what you're getting. So you should know that before you spend the money, I think. And if you know that and that's what you want, then you'll be very happy with it. I think if you want a phenomenal JRPG and haven't played Dragon Quest on Switch, that is the one. That one's maybe a more like. That may be a thing that someone who's like, I haven't played a JRPG in a long time, what should I get? I would probably say that Dragon Quest Switch is better.
Yeah, it's probably more of like a quintessential kind of JRPG too.
Yeah, I think Xenoblade certainly has some reverence attached to it. But
it certainly does. But like, if you're going like, I want to play the most JRPG type JRPG.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with something like Dragon Quest, whereas like Xenoblade adjusts the formula a bit.
Yes. I also have heard that the add-on content that they put at the end of Xenoblade, for those who have played it already, or if you're playing it for the first time, you get to it at the end. It's about 20 hours long, the epilogue, which is great. That's a lot of content, and it cuts all that fat out. It's all narrative story stuff. There's not like bloated side content, and you just go like A to B to C, and so they clearly understand that a lot of that stuff is a little dated at this point.
Oh, I was kind of dismissive of it, and I don't know if the side stuff necessarily has me on board, but maybe I'll check it out. I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but hearing that it's different, like considerably from Xenoblade 1, maybe.
The combat in Xenoblade 1 is really cool. Like the fact that you have like, oh, this person needs to stagger them, then this character needs to do a topple attack, and then this character needs to do a daze attack. All that stuff.
There's a lot of that in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah. But I don't know. From what I understand, it's just people tend to like it better in the first game, and that the combat's a little more deep. But I only played a few hours of Xenoblade 2 also. That's one I eventually want to play again, but was kind of waiting because this one's out.
I think I put in like 40 hours into Xenoblade 2, and I don't know how far into that game I am or anything.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to know.
It's like a gacha game in a lot of ways. which
Yeah,
is,
that stuff is not in the first
Okay.
one.
Okay, because that
might
kind of
make it
didn't
more appealing.
As far as I
appeal to
know,
me, yeah.
I could be wrong, so don't. I mean, I haven't played that deep into it, but I know what you're talking about in Xenoblade 2. I'm pretty sure none of that's in the first game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what made me bounce off of it. So I'm interested in giving Xenoblade like OG Xenoblade Chronicles a chance.
I think you'll probably like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want. Hopefully, I don't know if they will, but if they should port Xenoblade Chronicles X from Wii U to Switch.
Unfortunately,
But
the last I saw, Takahashi said that they don't have any plans to, and that it would be a huge effort because the Wii U is very different from the Switch or something, and like porting that game would be really difficult and stuff. So that's
Because they're cowards.
I still have my Wii U, but the biggest fault I had with Xenoblade Chronicles X was that the UI was just hot garbage. Like the text size was absurdly small, and you couldn't adjust it at all.
Put it on a smaller screen. Oh yeah.
So it was just like it was just very hard to play.
Yeah.
Because of that. So I was like, man, it'd be really nice if they ported it to Switch and like adjusted that issue. But I don't know.
Who knows? This was all stuff from a couple of years ago. So
we'll see.
And it could be that stance has changed.
Okay. Well, next up on our list, watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes. She's a man eater.
Yes. The title of the game is absolutely a direct reference to the song for sure.
Actually?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because it's the whole thing is about like killing about a lady shark eating people. I mean, the subtext of the song, not as much. It's not about a lady shark. Like,
but maybe it should be.
Lady Shark, do. Yeah, I don't know. So I'll try to talk pretty briefly about Maneater also because it's I haven't played a super ton of it. I played a couple hours, but it's a open world RPG, action RPG that weirdly is very much a Dark Souls kind of game.
You play as a shark.
Yeah, you play as a shark. The opening is very gruesome. You get an abilities with a shark, and then this bad guy who has like a thick Cajun accent. It's all set in like the bayou kind of, and then the ocean around in the Gulf. And this guy with like a thick Cajun accent captures you, and then guts the shark, and then pulls out a baby shark from inside of the mom shark. And then is like taunting and cuts also slices the baby shark. And then one of the people on his boat are like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm marking her. That way I'll know when she grows up and I go to hunt her, I'll know that she's the one that I pulled out of the shark," basically. And it's real fucked up. And then you bite his hand off, or the baby shark bites his hand off, and then he throws the baby shark in the water. And then that's where the game starts with you as the baby shark. So the whole concept is like early on anyway, is that you're like, you're killing and eating fish to level up and then get older. So like at this point I'm a teen shark. And it's very fun. It's a fun game to move around in. The controls are actually really good for the most part in terms of like moving around in a 3D space. And that's really what makes it interesting, is that it's a Dark Souls game, but it's also one where you're floating around in the water. So it's all
Echo the Dolphin.
Movement. Yeah, totally. It's like you're a villain in Echo the Dolphin. And so early on the objectives, it's Dark Souls, but then it's combined with like a Ubisoft open world sensibility where you open the map and it's like, there's like 40 objectives and it's all like, oh, find these collectibles and these landmarks and hunt this enemy here and hunt this enemy here and kill a certain number of fish here. which I enjoy. The kind of, it's for me, it's cathartic to just clear those objective lists, even though that's not particularly deep. And the combat itself actually is pretty solid in that regard. Early on, you fight alligators because you're in the swamp, and they're hard. I was like yelling at the screen and like, am I doing something wrong? Is this supposed to be this hard? Because it says I have to kill this alligator and I keep dying. And it's just hard. The thing that game though desperately needs is there's no lock-on mechanic, which is less awful than you would think for a Dark Souls game in a 3D space, because the controls are quite precise when you're underwater and weirdly work like super well. There's sort of a like attach to a degree where when you push the attack button, if you're looking at something, it does a good job of going, you want to attack this thing. So that stuff all works. The problem is that you go between swimming around underwater and then doing what's called knifing. That's what they call it, where you're on the surface of the water. And when you're knifing, the camera like has popped up above the water, and you can't even look underwater, because the idea is like, this is how you're interacting with the environment above water. So like eating people, for example. And this is how you get the ridiculous like physics stuff of like the shark jumping out of the water and sliding around on the beach, which is very funny. The problem is there's no button press to go into knifing. You just swim to the surface. And then to get back underwater, you have to push a dive button. And so what happens in shallower areas when you're fighting these alligators, for example, is you're like dodging them and it's a really intense fight. And then you end up on top of the water and then you can't see where the alligator is. So you're just like mashing the dodge button and desperately hammering the dive button to get back underwater. And that feels imprecise and like you're not really in control. And I didn't like that. I don't like that so much. But that's really my only major gripe with the game so far, is that it really could use a lock-on where you're basically like disabling the knifing mode where you're focusing underwater. And if it had that, I would be even more into it.
Really interesting, because like all of the marketing that came out for this game, or that I saw at least, like trailers, etc., they came across as very arcadey. Like the thing that came to mind when I saw it was like it basically looked like Carmageddon, but you're a shark. So
Sharkmageddon?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But like hearing all of what you're talking about, it's like that sounds way deeper and actually more like well thought out than just a purely arcadey kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think I assumed, like, just looking at what I saw of footage and stuff, that it was more arcadey, but it sounds interesting.
And you have like basic, like you pull a trigger and you attack. And if you hold the trigger down, if the enemy you're attacking is smaller than you can actually hold it in your jaws. And then you can like push left bumper and you'll tail whip it into something else and use it as a projectile and stuff. And then there's like tail whip attacks that are like CC attacks that knock enemies around you back and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely like trying to go for that more methodical combat. And enemies flash when they're about to attack you, and then you dodge them, and then they're vulnerable, that kind of thing.
Can the shark fat roll?
No, well, I don't know. There's no gear, obviously,
but the shark does upgrade.
Yes, so as you get
some pretty interesting ways.
Yeah, so you get different kinds of DNA when you eat things. And then you spend those points. I will say early on, it's very shallow in terms of like upgrades. And I don't think
it's like spore.
Yeah, it's just like you just are like upgrading. Like I upgraded my sonar. That's the one thing I've upgraded after a couple of hours. And it's very slow early on to upgrade stuff, because I think you have to get to the adult stage before you unlock the ability to like have any kind of upgrade paths. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like $30. I think it's not a 40. Full price, 40. And plus, if you act fast, you can use an Epic coupon on it on PC at least, so you can get it for a little bit for $10 off, which is what I did. And for that, I mean, it's fun. It's definitely goofy Chris Parnell does all the narration.
Oh my gosh, that sounds kind of great.
Very hit or miss. Some of the dialogue he's great. His reads are really good. Some of the writing is like, that's stupid. It's a lot of puns, a lot of shark puns, and a lot of like, it reminds me of Destroy All Humans a lot, which is a game that I adore, Destroy All Humans, but like a lot of the writing in that game is terrible. And it's kind of got that thing going on. And it's also, Maneater's framed as being like a Shark Week nature show. And sometimes it feels like that framing is like they bleep out curse words, which is like, it's a mature rated game where you're slaughtering lots of people. And part of me is like, I wonder if it's because your publisher is also very religious and that's why they really wanted you to bleep out the swear words. So there's a little bit of like weirdness in that way too, but it's a fun game. And I think it's worth playing if you're looking for something that is a little deeper than maybe it appeared, but also not, I don't want to imply that it's as difficult or as deep as a Souls game either. So
I'm really looking forward to finding out about all the lore that's hidden away in the item descriptions of Maneater.
One phenomenal choice that they made is it's not realistic in terms of what wildlife appears. So early on, there's like a gar or something, and it's like, you might be wondering why there's a Midwestern lakefish found in the Great Lakes present in this Louisiana bayou. And if you're wondering that, you're thinking way too hard. So that's fun. It makes me feel like anything could show up, and it wouldn't, and they're not like locking themselves into the setting, which is kind of funny.
Well, I have now purchased Maneater during this discussion.
I think you will like it. I think you need to set expectations that it's like a $30 $40 game for sure, but I think you'll probably enjoy it. It's fun to play.
I totally thought this was like a follow-up to Depth, which is the multiplayer shark game.
Interestingly, the lead designer,
it's like asymmetric swimmers and shark, and I totally thought this was like related to that.
And interestingly, one of the lead designers on Depth, I believe, is one of the lead designers on this game.
Which is, you get the person who made the shark game to make your shark game. That makes sense.
Which is interesting. But my understanding is the studio that made this game originally was not part of Tripwire, and then Tripwire acquired them as part of the deal to make this game. Tripwire being a very strange studio that makes the Killing Floor games, which I think are awful, but a lot of people like. But yeah, it's worth checking out. I also very briefly touched on or briefly played Minecraft Dungeons. That game is definitely arcadey Diablo, and if you want that, you should totally pick it up. It is beautiful and plays nicely and is very Diablo like. But I don't really have a ton more to say on it. It's short.
Hey, for games like that you're supposed to run a lot, I guess that's okay. And they've got DLC planned, right? So
yeah, it's $20 too if you don't have Game Pass, and so it's not like it's expensive. And there's 3 different difficulty tiers, and then within each of those there's several difficulty like levels. If you're familiar with Diablo, it's sort of like Torment difficulties, where there's Torment 10 and 20 and 30, and it goes on forever.
Just don't uninstall it from your hard drive if you're on PC.
Yeah. Also, it sounds like that game, if you bought, I have Game Pass, so I just use that.
Yeah.
If you bought Minecraft Dungeons, there are a lot of people that it just was like, sorry, we don't know for sure that you bought it, so you can't play it. It's like, wow.
This is an uncharacteristically messy launch for
especially
like
for
a Minecraft and like a Microsoft release, like first party.
It's so small.
Yeah.
The game, it's definitely not a like huge major release in the sense that like this is an example of, I think, what Microsoft wants to do with Game Pass, where they have games of different shapes and sizes coming from the first party studios. Sure. And this is clearly that. Even if you do get into running it at the highest difficulty, I don't think you're going to play this game for more than like a dozen hours.
Yeah.
Do you think kids will though? Because like for me, Minecraft is very much a kid series.
I think Minecraft is infinitely more replayable than Minecraft Dungeons. There's not the same level of creativity in Dungeons. In terms
Like
of
at
how you
all,
interact
there's
with it.
none of the like building stuff or
Right, I mean-
deformation or
In Diablo, character builds are the thing that you can be creative about and customize for hundreds and thousands of hours. And in Dungeons, though, there's only 3 gear slots. Like you have a melee weapon, a bow, and a piece of and like an armor set. And it's cool. It's fun, and it's nice that it's simple because it makes it play fast. But yeah, it doesn't have like extensive.
how many trillions of damage are you doing with each attack pack?
Unfortunately, I only do like 50 damage right now. I don't know how big the numbers get. Diablo 3 though, I can do
Diablo
like,
3 is the better clicker.
I can
numbers
do
go up
3
higher.
trillion damage in Diablo 3.
Does it have a better story than Minecraft story mode?
I didn't play Minecraft story mode, so I don't know.
Is
Fair enough.
Steve in it?
No, it's all about the arch illager.
What?
Honestly, the story's kind of fucked. Like, it's this dude wanted to move in with these people in a village, and the people were like, no. The implication is like you have a weird looking nose, so no, because the illagers all have weird, like Muppet noses.
Oh yeah, right.
Huh.
Okay.
And so the villagers are like, no, we don't have any room for you. And so the illager's like, oh no, and he like is trying to find a home, and then he ends up finding a dungeon, and then he finds like an ancient book and becomes this evil villain. And I was like, kind of on the illager side actually. But then he sends like hordes of skeletons to destroy the village, so that part's not great.
The illager should move to Japan and teach English, where he can hear about how big his nose is every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't want to give the impression it's offensive because it's
No, it's I mean, but just knows that's speaking from experience.
the biggest thing about Dungeons.
I hear about my nose a lot.
Minecraft Dungeons is super gorgeous. So if you have Game Pass, I recommend downloading it and just playing a level or two because it's really, really pretty.
But don't uninstall it because it'll delete your hard drive.
Yes, don't uninstall it. Yeah, I think that's only if you install it to a custom location, but still, I'm not uninstalling it.
Yeah, that for people who don't have context, there was an amazing like ticket that was brought up to their support community that was like, "Hey, I uninstalled the game and it just wiped my hard drive."
Oh my
and
god!
then they issued a big alert being like, "Hey, don't uninstall the game with the uninstaller yet. Let us fix this."
This is how you get people to not uninstall your game.
It's tied up in Windows Store bullshit too. Of like, there's a version. If you have Windows 7, if you don't have Windows 10, you have Windows 7 or 8. There's a version that you get that has like a launcher attached to it. Whereas if you have Windows 10, the version just launches straight from the Windows Store or the Xbox app. And the
Doesn't
launcher
it not cross-buy either? Like Play Anywhere or whatever it is?
No, that's the biggest.
It's not Play Anywhere. Yeah.
It's not Play Anywhere, and it also is not cross-play, and it doesn't have. You can play couch co-op, which would be super fun for this game, but you can't play couch co-op with someone online. Which my friends were like, a couple friends of mine got this game because they're twin brothers, and like the one that lives further away was like, oh, I can play this with my brother and his son. And was excited about it, and then they can't do that because you can't have 2 people on one system and a person on another system.
It's
ridiculous because
this is a messy.
Yeah,
mess.
It's ridiculous. It's all messy in a way that's like, I don't think it makes me say you should wait to play it because, I mean, whatever. If you're gonna play it, but it works fine if you want to play it by yourself or with someone else on your system.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I mean, if you have Game Pass in 5 hours, you can pretty much do that.
Yeah, I will say I haven't finished it, so if that tells you anything. But that's more because I didn't bring it up because we already talked about it. But I'm playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins, and that game is good as hell. So yeah.
All right. Well, now it's your turn, Alex. I know you haven't slept much, but if you find the energy, you can tell us about your game.
I don't know how to sleep. Sleeping is hard, man. Do you guys have any sleeping techniques?
Apparently, I'm not very good at it either. So
I count sheep.
my doctor is prescribing me $1,000 piece of equipment to make me sleep. So maybe look into one of those.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. Your body doesn't do it.
If you find something, that was supposed to be a segue into how I played If Found.
Yeah, if you found the secret to sleeping,
yeah.
Please tell Alex.
Have any of you played or heard of If Found?
No.
I haven't played it, but I have heard of it for sure.
Yeah,
I think I played some of it maybe on mobile.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Apparently, it showed up at a few shows. Like I think it might have been at a PAX. I'm thinking of something else. I just pulled it up. Different thing. Yeah. So this is an Annapurna game or Annapurna published game. So that's kind of, as soon as I hear that name, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna check that out. And this is, for all intents and purposes, it's a visual novel, but not in the traditional sense. Like if you think visual novel, you think like lower third of the screen is taken up by text, and then there's images above that, and that's how you're interacting with the game, and maybe some choices here and there. That's not what this is. Like the text shows up all over the screen. You're actually watching like heavy animations of characters interacting and stuff like that. But you are still doing a lot of reading. You're occasionally making some choices and stuff like that. And when I saw it in screenshots, my initial reaction was kind of like, the art style's kind of grody and kind of ugly, and like I don't really like it, but let's check it out anyways. When you see it in motion, it's like stunning. Like it's super gorgeous. It's extremely cool, and the way it starts is really strong. Like I almost don't want to spoil it, even though it's like the first 2 minutes. And if you're watching the video version, you're watching that right now, where you start off with this like super pumping music as a astronaut who's getting sucked into a black hole. And then the rest of the game, the big SUCC indeed. But like, and then like you're kind of going through her memories because her perception of space-time is all fucked up. And you're doing you're interacting with it by basically just using an eraser the entire time and like peeling back layers of everything that she's going through. And it's a really cool interaction. And yeah, so like it starts like going to different times of her life, what led her to being a astronaut and stuff, and experiences that formed her and relationships and all these kinds of things. And there's a lot to it that I don't want to give away because it is worth playing. I think it's a strong game. The story that it tells is like oddly personal. Like it seems like it came from someone's experiences, and that they kind of use the astronaut trope as a way to, justify some traumas or like put it into a gameplay element that would make it more interesting. But like it does come from a pretty dark place. And I should also note, this game is like hella fucking Irish.
Nice.
It's like it is like extremely so. It even has like a ton of terms that are straight out of like Ireland and stuff, and it like actually has like annotations being like, by the way, if if you don't know what this means, this is what all this stuff means. And it's just like, I had no idea these were even English. Well, they aren't English, but they're words that you use in Ireland. So very cool in that sense. There's a lot to it. Again, I want to talk about some aspects of it, but don't want to spoil it. I'll say that it's a very heavy LGBTQ game that I was not expecting. In the way that it represents some of the characters and stuff, it's really interesting. The only negative thing I have to say about it is the ending was kind of meh. Like it's another one of those games that felt like they kind of maybe ran out of time and or budget. So it seems like it had a more elaborate ending planned, but the way it happens, it all just kind of like rushes, and it's just like, okay, now we're getting to the ending, so here's all the stuff that's going to happen. We're not going to explain parts of it. So I think everything prior to that is really, really exceptional, just from a style point, from a writing point of view, just everything. I think it's a really, really, really worthwhile game to play.
I've added it to a Steam cart. I don't know if I'll buy it yet, but it's on a wish list at least because I've already bought Maneater and Sludge Life is installed. Congratulations, everybody! You brought me 3 great games at least today.
Yeah, I'm adding this to my wish list now because I just bought Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but I definitely would like to play it at some point because it sounds really interesting.
If nothing else, I would recommend just finding a video of it and watching the first like 5 minutes just to kind of get a feel for what it looks like, because in motion it's really striking.
Well, it's recommending it to, it's saying it's relevant to me because it is similar to games I played, such as What Remains of Edith Finch, which is one of the better games that's come out since we've been doing this show, despite being derided by one particular member who's not here to speak to defend his position today. So I can just say that he's wrong.
Yeah, it's a very good game.
So anyway, I'll definitely be playing it, if nothing else, for no other reason than to spite Sam.
It's saying I don't know. For some reason, it's saying that it's similar to Danganronpa, and I guess it's because it's a visual novel, but at the same time, I'm like, huh?
I will say no. It's not similar to Danganronpa.
It doesn't sound similar to Danganronpa, but it's just, that's what Steam's saying. It's like similar to Danganronpa. And I'm like,
for me, it's Life is Strange episode 1.
It has that for me too.
Yeah, me too.
Which I'm not a huge Life is Strange fan, so
go fuck yourself.
I can't. I've tried multiple times. Just I want to like it. It's a kind of game that I like.
Yeah. Anyways, you should play that game. It
sounds interesting, and I'm excited to see the art, if nothing else. But I think the rest of it sounds good, interesting too.
Yeah, and you can probably finish it in a single sitting if you really wanted to. It's like 3-ish hours, 4-ish hours, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah, this does look really cool in motion. All right, and I love space stuff. Well. Mm-hmm. You don't want to talk about this other very vague note you've written here, Alex?
No, I've started another game that is really interesting so far. I'll wait to talk about it until I'm done, because otherwise I might just be giving updates all the time, and that's kind of boring.
Okay. We'll just become a constant update podcast about Trails of Cold Steel and whatever this game you're playing is, and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hell yeah.
Next week I'll be like, all right, here's the Bravely Default updates.
Yeah, that's great.
Still good.
Love it.
Back on our bullshit.
Good content.
So I can get back into Destiny. That season's about to end. I should probably get in there and farm some exotics that I didn't get this season.
Oh no.
I only played like 2 weeks this season because it was bad.
I didn't want to say it, but that is what I was thinking.
All right. Well, I just played some more Assassin's Creed. We don't need to talk about that. Other than I still want to go to Greece.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
me too.
That's the simultaneously best and worst part about playing Assassin's Creed games is I'm definitely like, fuck, I want to go to Egypt so bad. Oh my god.
Although I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if any game has done that for me more than Sleeping Dogs did with eating food.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm like, I want to eat everything in that.
Whenever I play Yakuza, I want to go to Japan too. Yeah. So Sleeping Dogs maybe want to go to Hong Kong real bad.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but like that happens also with Assassin's Creed, like where I'm like, oh, I want to go there, but I just like I really like Sleeping Dogs, but like my biggest sense memory is like looking at all the food they have in that game and going, man, that would be really good right now.
If we're at a point where game food and like the locations are so realistic that you're just like, I want to go to there.
And I got to say, I mean, this isn't, we don't have to draw it out, but Assassin's Creed Origin may be the best looking game I've ever played, having not played Odyssey. Holy shit, that game looks astoundingly good. And it's one of those ones that's kind of actually made me less excited for next gen, because I'm like, this game looks perfect. Like games don't need to look better than this one does.
You're also playing on a PC, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm saying for me personally,
nice
I'm
fancy. Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone should agree. Yeah, no, I'm playing it with everything like ultra maxed out, but yeah. Hopefully,
looking
next generation
forward
will
to
mean
hopefully doing that in September.
yeah. Hopefully, more people will get to experience games that look like that if with new consoles. Because holy shit.
Well, speaking of new consoles and next gen,
Nice.
we've got news.
That was a solid transition.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
Yeah, good job.
You set them up, knock them out of the park every time.
Every time. Don't
every time.
go back and listen to
Without
old
fail.
episodes.
It's never happened. So yeah, as I predicted at some point, I think, and other people, Jeff Grubb's Summer Games Mess continues on with the Sony PS5 game and some info, like reveal event coming on June 4th. It sounded like it was up in the air, maybe moving around a bit, but they have finally announced June 4th. We will see about an hour plus of PS5 games, first party, third party, and some information about the console.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything, but some things.
Yeah. It's so weird that we only got like a week's notice on this. It doesn't really matter because of the state of everything in terms of like working from home and stuff, but yeah.
Nintendo's been doing that.
Yep, totally.
And I think like it's a video. It's like a 1 p.m. on a Thursday, which is not like
weird.
their usual E3 time. Normally I'm surprised they're not even keeping like 5 p.m. Pacific time on, maybe not Monday, but like 5 p.m. Pacific time, but they're doing 1 p.m. on, I believe, June 4th, which is Thursday, right? Yeah, because I'm going to get up at like 5 a.m. on Friday to watch this live because I need to know.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this is them trying to set expectations to a degree of like, we're going to show stuff, but this is not an E3 press conference.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I still think that the expectations will be there.
Yeah, of
But-
course.
If it's an hour plus and it's early June like that, I think that's going to be replacing the E3 press conference.
Oh
Right.
yeah. It's not that I'm sure it's going to convey whatever information they would have conveyed in their press conference, but I wonder if I mean, there's a certain amount of like flash to an E3 press conference that there's no way this can have because
Totally.
it's just
You
not the
don't-
same.
Right.
You
Because
don't
they're
get
not on a
audience-
stage. They're
yeah.
not like,
Yeah.
hey,
They
let's
can't
bring out.
recreate a building from Death Stranding and put a bunch of journalists in it.
Right.
Yeah,
They
you
can't,
can't.
go like, hi, let's have a person playing banjo on a stage in front of you
Oh my
in a
God, right?
church.
No,
Oh,
it
I
was a big
forgot about
tent.
It was,
that.
it was like a,
wedding
but it was
tent.
like a big, yeah.
That was the worst.
Yeah.
From
Last
The
year
Last of Us
C3 was
2.
bad. It was
Not last
bad.
year. That
Yeah.
was like that was 2
2
years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes, because
It was
Sony
bad.
didn't do last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
God. That was
terrible.
such a long. They
But-
talked about games that. Oh wow. The two of the big games still haven't come out that they talked about
Mhm.
Yeah.
E3 2 years ago. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
And
Yeah.
by the time we see this, those two games still won't be out.
Yeah.
They're like, there's still about 3 weeks until Last of Us, just under 3 weeks, and then there's like a month and a half until Ghost of Tsushima.
Also, I do have to. The thing I predicted last week happened. I watched the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay video, and I'm now fucking pumped for that game, and will be taking a day off of work to play it. So
But
it looks amazing.
yeah, from the messaging they put out about this event, it sounds like it'll be pretty game heavy. Like it sounds like they want to show a lot
Yeah.
of games off, which is good. But I would be very surprised if they don't show the hardware, because
I think they have to show the box.
I think they have to, because like Microsoft has had it out there like almost all year at this point, like since March.
It's like it doesn't matter, like the box.
No, it doesn't.
It's like but I think people want to know. They're probably about to enter into final production stuff. They probably have all that stuff nailed down for a holiday release. So they probably know what the box looks like.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll get price
no.
because but
Well,
that'll come over the summer and for pre-orders. But I don't think
It's-
tomorrow is the time for price.
it's possible. I mean,
Possible.
They announced price at E3 for in whatever it was 2013, but that was also the same day that Microsoft announced price.
Yeah.
So stuff.
Yeah, and they had already announced done more with the console stuff. So
yeah,
hard to say. What would you folks like to see at this event?
I know I saw that we shouldn't expect it, and I'm not expecting it, but any level of backwards compatibility would be really good.
I think, well, I don't think it's that. No, the backwards compatibility stuff is, you mean, okay, what do you mean by backwards compatibility? Do you mean like PS4 games on PS5?
Like as much as possible. Like I saw that you shouldn't expect it in the
PS2,
same way that
PS1.
Yeah, I should saw that you shouldn't expect it the same way that like Xbox is planning on it.
I don't know if they will, but there was a headline that came out. I don't have it in front of me, but that came out saying developers are being encouraged to make sure that their PS4 games that are coming out, like from here on out, are encouraged to also
July. Every game that comes after July 13th has to work on the PS5.
Yeah,
exactly. So but there's still a massive catalog of games that we don't know about. They've already said like, oh yeah, we're gonna have like the boost capabilities for PS4 games, like the top 100 or top 1,000 games will like be enhanced on the PS5. But seeing whether or not
you want to play,
they take advantage of that older. If you want to play Lair on the PS5, can you?
You want to play Persona 3 Fez on the PS5?
I mean, honestly, yeah.
I do too.
I mean, that's not inaccurate, but yeah, it's I know it's not necessarily a priority, but I feel like as
I
we're
don't
getting,
think that'll come tomorrow.
Right.
Whether or not that's part of it, I don't think we'll hear about.
Right. No, I don't think so either. It's just something that it would be really nice if more game consoles and kind of had a focus on past games and being able to play them. So
sure. One thing they have said is Jim Ryan did an interview with, I think, gamesindustry.biz and said they aren't interested in doing what Microsoft has said they're doing, where PS5 games will like also be on PS4 for a while and they'll be like cross-gen. Like we want to take full advantage of the new hardware. We firmly believe in the generational cut, which that's dumb. Like we firmly believe in generations. You firmly believe in making more money. But it'll be interesting to see what that means for the quality of games, and like, do we finally start to see like the jump, like the next gen jump in this presentation that we haven't seen from the Microsoft stuff so far?
Right.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, the only thing, I don't know if there's anything I particularly want to see, like there's stuff that would be nice, but I hope we
crash zooms or
crash zooms on specifically on Jim Ryan. I don't know, I kind of miss the crew we had with the PS4, because like they felt a bit more genuine to me, like with your Kaz Hirais and Jack Trettons and Adam Boyes and all that. Like,
was Kaz still there with the PS4?
It wasn't Kaz, it was Yosp, it was Yoshida. So
Andrew House and stuff.
Andrew House, totally. Like I kind of miss that crew. Right now, the Sony side of things feels a bit more like the PS3 era, which is not a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, who's the guy from Guerrilla?
I forget his name. He's charismatic for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's taken over the worldwide public third party, or so he's moved on from Guerrilla to a more
but he also hasn't moved on from Guerrilla. He's also still doing studio management at Guerrilla, I think, was what I saw.
Interesting.
Like co-management.
I mean, it was like he Helm something.
Herman Hulst.
Yes, Herman Hulst.
There we go. I knew it was an H. He's always seemed like a good guy and like charismatic and interesting to listen to talk. So hopefully they get him more centered, because Jim Ryan does not seem like the kind of person I want to see talk.
No, maybe as in like doing an introduction to introduce people who are better or more charismatic.
Yeah. And he recently got like promoted to like head of Sony Interactive Entertainment.
Yeah,
so
same.
like he had like another promotion, which is there's all sorts of restructuring going on over there. Who knows?
Yeah, just get
But
Mark
we're finally
Cerny out
going to
there.
see. Yeah. Well, I mean, but he's not necessarily the one that you get introducing the games, except for Knack 3, which we'll obviously see.
And the new PlayStation Eye, which will take pictures of your ear.
Yep. And upload them directly to Mark Cerny's home server.
I hope that it uploads it, that Mark Cerny gets a push notification when I
Every
upload my
time.
ear pick.
Yeah, a push notification for every single ear pick.
Can I send multiple ear picks to make it more accurate?
My left and right ears are not symmetric, so I'd hope.
Can I send him a picture of Frank's ear, who is my cat?
Oh,
Is he-
you could hear what Frank
you know-
hears. I think they should make like a new pair of Sony headphones that has like a camera in the headphones so that
Oh
it just
Jesus, no!
it just lights up and takes a picture of your ear
It's
when you put the headphones on.
Just
well, no, you don't
infrared
have to
camera,
because you just put the DualSense up to your ear and it just uses
Like a-
infrared
like
to
a telephone. You're just like, oh hello.
yeah.
And when you
Hello,
put it
Mark
up to your ear,
Cerny?
you get it. Yeah, Mark Cerny gets the push notification. He has to manually do the thing.
And then he walks you through all the steps. He's like, okay, now a little to the right, a little, okay, rotate
Yeah.
2 degrees.
Then he says,
yeah.
yeah, that's the stuff. And then he takes a picture. Should be noted, I think we all love Mark
God.
Cerny.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh yeah,
it's-
it's yeah. No, this isn't about Mark Cerny. It's just about how he was
This is about
talking
the ear
about.
picks.
Yeah, you can send us pictures of your ear, and we'll model the sound to more accurately to get you the best sound for your.
Still,
Want me to
totally
send you a
valid.
picture of my ear? What?
Still totally
Sure,
valid.
that's what you're
Still
going to use the ear
phrased-
pictures for.
still
It's,
phrased
Sure.
terribly.
Yeah.
It's just one of those bizarre like vitality sensor things that like they're never gonna actually do. Because
yeah,
I mean,
don't-
maybe like AI stuff will get to the point where they can just like put it through like a supercomputer and it'll like do some algorithm shit, and then it'll like, okay, here's your settings. But the idea of the audio stuff that they're doing with like multiple profiles and settings, that sounds good. It's just sending pictures of your ears to Mark Cerny.
I think sending pictures of my ear is weirder than the vitality sensor.
Oh yes,
officially.
no, but the vitality sensor never happened.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where like, oh yeah, they talk about it and then it just never comes up again. But we'll never let it die.
Yeah, we'll never forget ear
No.
picture.
I'm expecting. I expect Resident Evil 8 to be shown here. They've all the, except for Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 7, and Resident Evil 2 both had big showings at Sony's events, at E3 specifically in the past. And the Silent Hill composer liked and retweeted the announcement, and there's a rumor that he and some of the other folks from the original Silent Hill, like the director and I think designer, are working on a reboot of the franchise, which I believe is exclusive to PlayStation. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's there for that stuff. Maybe Horizon Zero Dawn 2. I think I don't know if it's going to launch, but I think that's probably out of their big exclusives. I think that's the one that's going to be
Yeah, I mean,
most likely to come out first.
Yeah.
Guerrilla
Yeah.
has been at the launch of the past 2 consoles, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing too, because I think like both from a game perspective, I think the most disappointing thing about Horizon Zero Dawn is the fact that there's a post-credit sequence that teases a sequel.
I think they had already said it was going to be like a trilogy or something.
Sure, I just don't think I think it's such a great complete story from like start to credits that's in a way I think it's too bad, but also it's very like it mirrors my feelings on the PS5, which is just like I don't want to buy this thing. I don't really know that I needed Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but I'm also going to play Horizon Zero Dawn 2 because Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games on the PS4. And I mean, I'll buy a PS5 because that's just what we're going to do.
That's kind of where I'm at with PS5 right now too, where I'm like, I don't know if I'm really excited, but at the same time, I know that there's going to be games that I need to play on it. So it's like,
so I guess if they can do, I don't know what it is, if they can do something to make me feel more excited about
anything,
it, not
make me feel alive again.
Basically
anything.
That would be great. Because as it stands, like, I understand why other people are excited for sure. Like especially Alex, from like a tech perspective, the stuff you talked about, being excited about a lot of that stuff, but I still have yet to see anything that like makes me want to buy one of these and makes me feel good about the idea of buying one. From a
consumer's perspective, they haven't really given a lot.
I think both Microsoft and Sony have done a poor job of selling these consoles so far. Sony has not yet begun to market. But
like that kind of seems what this event seems to be what you guys are wanting,
is
because like the tech heavy GDC talk happened a month ago, 2
months.
When did that happen?
I don't know. What is time?
I don't remember when that happened. Jesus.
I guess the thing though. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because they're focusing this so heavily on games, it makes me feel like maybe they're actually gonna be like, because like the tech can be great, but if there's nothing you want to play on there, why would you buy it?
But I think part of it too is what I'm concerned is going to happen with this event is, and I think this is something Microsoft was kind of trying to avoid, and they did avoid it, but they failed still. Is I'm concerned what's going to happen with this event is we're going to, Sony, Jim Ryan's going to speak for a minute, and then it's going to be like the lights go down, and then Horizon, like you see a robot dinosaur, and it looks really good, but it's a robot dinosaur, and then it's going to show you a Horizon Zero Dawn 2 trailer, and it's going to look great, but it's going to be not really indicative of like, oh, I must have the new console because that's the only way to get a game like this kind of thing, like I'm not I hope that it's not just, aren't you excited about playing this game? And I hope that they actually show it in a way that makes me feel like, oh, this could only be done on this system and I need this system to play this,
Okay. But what if that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 trailer shows that big hulking robot dinosaur and then a wrecking ball falls from it and it says brought to you by, and then a second wrecking ball, Michael Bay?
Oh God.
Oh no.
Then I will never buy
it. It zooms out and those wrecking balls are the testicles of a giant transformer.
Exactly.
Oh God. I guess I just like, I have a feeling what's going to happen is they're going to show Horizon Zero Dawn 2. They're going to tease Spider-Man 2. And they're going to potentially tease a God of War game. Not that I think that'll be out anytime soon. And that's going to be, we're going to come away from it and everyone's going to be like, holy shit, new God of War, new Horizon Zero Dawn. And I'm going to be there like,
who cares?
Yeah, I would rather just play on PS4 though.
Those are known quantities.
Yeah, and I want to play those games, but I would just rather play them on PS4.
Right.
I mean, I think God of War looks.
What you want and what I think I want to is just like, not just like, here are the games that you need a PS5 for, but here's why
totally
you want a PS5 in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they do that, and with their idea like, oh, we believe in generations, we want to fully utilize the power of the PS5 for what we're making, and what they have talked about with like Mark Cerny's talk about measuring your ear and the SSD and all that stuff. I'm hoping that they actually go into why.
Yeah. What is this going to make a difference for this game?
Yeah, that seems to be what their messaging so far has been. And I don't know why they would deviate from that for this game presentation.
It needs to not just be trailers. It needs to be, here's the stinger moment. Now you know this is Horizon Zero Dawn. And then a voice needs to come in and say, thanks to the processing power of the PS5, we can render AI in ways that we haven't been able to do so before. Here's an example of a robot dinosaur thinking for itself or whatever. That's the stuff I need to see, because I don't care if it's just like the resolution's better. I don't really give a shit. And for a lot of games, I do think that the load times will be a big factor. But personally, the load times for Horizon were I don't even remember them. So like I agree.
Yeah, open world games, it's less.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that over dozens of loads, or hundreds, thousands of loads, getting them down in time, it saves you a lot of time. I think it's valuable. I'm not trying to say I don't think it matters, but what I want to see is here are the reasons why, from a gameplay perspective, this game needs to be on PS5. And that's what'll get me excited about the prospect of buying a PS5 to be able to play them.
I'd be interested if, I don't know if I'd be interested. Interested is a strong word. It would be interesting if they brought out like a PSVR 2.0 and then were able to actually showcase something new in that space, which like, I don't know what that would be. But like, I don't know, Valve comes out and says,
you're tracking.
Yeah. Valve comes out and says, here's Half-Life Alyx. Oh, also here's Portal 3 or something. I don't know.
I mean, that would be a big thing if they got like, okay, they show they show their they get Gabe Newell out there again going, I was wrong about consoles again, damn it.
I still don't think that's going to happen, but
it won't. No, they have the index. They're not going to do that, but
yeah,
something like that would be cool.
I think
It'd be very nice if they did, though.
I think Sony coming out PS5 and going, okay, here's the PSVR 2 and we got Half-Life Alyx on a console. I think that would be a big get. I think it would be smart for Valve to make that happen.
Also,
I actually
from like an adoption standpoint.
Also,
I want you to be able to play it, so I want it to happen for you. I actually don't know that I think it makes sense for Valve to put that game anywhere than Steam,
totally. And also a Vita too.
I would fucking love a Vita
I want it, but at the same time, I know that that's not happening.
That's why they had the Vita in the Last of Us 2 State of Play.
Yeah.
I think also the fact that this isn't just a state of play and that it's billed as like a more full event is maybe give some hope to it being like actually going in depth and demonstrating them saying, okay, here's why you need a PS5 and not just here's the game.
For me, it definitely, though, is also like, this is good to know. That means I can continue to not care about State of Plays.
You watched that Ghost of Tsushima one and you liked it.
That is, yes, there's been one State of Play. But see, Nintendo Directs I care about because like there have been enough of really good Nintendo Directs that I'm like, oh, a Direct, exciting. Whereas State of Play, I don't fucking care until I hear someone say it was cool afterwards.
But they haven't had anything to show really. So but yeah, I agree. The State of Plays have been lackluster.
On that note, we don't have to talk about it much. We don't have it on the news, but there was that wholesome Nintendo Direct thing, which was cute.
Was it a Nintendo Direct?
No,
or was
no.
Okay, it was just like an indie, like wholesome Direct. Okay.
Yeah, they just called it a Direct because it was kind of in the same
same style.
But it was a bunch of games brought to you by, like, let me see if I can find that Twitter. It's just _ wholesome games, and there are a lot of really good looking games in there, so I'm really excited. I know that there has been a couple of articles out there that have compiled all the games that they focused on, but it looks like it was a lot of really good stuff in there. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend it.
Definitely worth the watch.
There has been some discourse around wholesome games since this because of the labeling and what does it mean to be wholesome. People who are labeled as wholesome and it just like, is it like a shoebox that like a box you put in and
I'll say I don't like to see. I don't like using the term wholesome as a descriptor for games in particular, but for media in general, personally. I definitely normally agree with that argument, but the stream was good. I don't know, like you got to call it something like, whatever.
And it's going for a specific vibe that I think a lot of people describe as being wholesome. So like you say it's like a wholesome games Direct and you kind of immediately know, okay, what are they going for? So
you're not going to see machine guns.
Yeah, right. I don't think it's worth getting too hung up on the semantics of how they titled it, even as someone who generally agrees with that argument when it comes to like actually boxing media.
Yeah,
boxing.
All right.
Oh, does that mean we get a new Fight Night?
Oh no.
Or what was the really arcadey one on Dreamcast?
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble? Are we getting a Ready 5 Rumble?
Maybe, I don't know. 3 Ready 5 Rumble. You. All right, back to the news. BlizzCon is canceled in 2020.
Yeah,
but they have an online event planned for early next year.
Didn't we say BlizzCon's likely going to get canceled at some point?
Oh, probably.
Seems like a thing we would
It's,
say.
it's not terribly
Probably
surprising.
said everything is going to get canceled.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this. I mean, I guess this is how I always feel every year with BlizzCon, but I can't imagine that they have much to show. Like Diablo 4 is not coming. They've said Diablo 4 is a long ways out. Like it's like 2 to 3 years.
Diablo Immortal.
Yeah, which
Overwatch 2.
like hated.
Heroes of the Storm 2.
That's not going to happen.
Warcraft 3 2.
Oh God.
StarCraft 2.
The big WoW expansion comes out this year.
Wouldn't that be
Battle for Azeroth 2.
Would that be StarCraft 2 4?
Oh my God, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Overwatch 2 is like exciting, but also I don't think. I mean, it's kind of like an Overwatch 1.5 in a lot of ways. It sounds like, and it sounds like they're handling that transition pretty well for people who own Overwatch. So it's not like it doesn't feel like skeezy from a business perspective, but I feel like that would be the marquee game this year would be Overwatch 2 because that's probably the one that's coming out the soonest. And
hear me out. Rock and Roll Racing 2.
Hell yeah, I'd be into that. Give me some Blackthorn. But it's just a new Lost Vikings. That's what we need.
Sure.
Honestly, a Lost Vikings on Switch would probably be pretty good, and they should probably make that happen. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like this year is last year they had to announce Diablo 4. So that's a big enough anchor to be like, okay, yeah, this is enough to anchor a con around is the announcement of Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2. This year, though, it's like you're going to give dev updates. They're already being pretty transparent about the development of Diablo 4. They put out gameplay stuff and blog updates with some regularity. So I don't know. It seems like this year would have been kind of lackluster anyway.
This year being lackluster is a thing you could use to describe 2020.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
That's very generous.
General.
If you mean generally, I would say that lackluster is a very generous description of this year. I would say large burning pile of excrement is maybe how I would describe 2020.
Yeah. Well, speaking
next to a gas leak,
piles of excrement.
Oh boy.
Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick quoted as saying, "Google Stadia overpromised on their tech."
I like how there's multiple ways you could interpret what the excrement is in that headline.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you read the entire statement he put out, it's not entirely on the tech. He actually calls out the subscription model as well. Like he's kind of like, yeah, streaming tech is good. It should exist. Like that's a good medium to use going forward. But like the fact that it's subscription plus game purchase is something that he's like,
it's weird.
Which it is.
That's the biggest feeling. I mean, there's tech problems for sure. As someone who's tried to mess with Stadia some, it's not a good service technically either. Really, I mean, it is if you're playing. It is if you're in just the right conditions, it's perfect. But like trying to play PUBG on that thing just to check it out was a disaster, technically. But the bigger issue I think is definitely the subscription model. I'm sure if I played Odyssey on it, Assassin's Creed, it would run fine because that game seems to work really well.
I tried it,
but like I'm not going to buy that game on Stadia. Like
for $60 or $70.
Yeah,
like one of them was more expensive. I can't remember which.
Yeah, it was Doom. I think.
What? Really?
I don't remember.
Well, maybe it wasn't Doom, but there was a game that was more expensive on Stadia than it was.
Oh no, that was like what was it? It was something. It was an indie game.
Was it Trine?
No, it was something new.
I thought it was it was an Epic exclusive and also on Stadia or something like that.
I don't remember.
But yeah, but it was like $20 and then like 30 on Stadia or something.
Oh, it was the Darksiders game. It was that Darksiders game.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it
we go.
was.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't an Epic exclusive, but yes, it was cheaper on Steam than it was on
Right.
Stadia, which was
Yes.
weird.
Yeah, we could dunk
Yeah.
on Stadia for hours, but
Yeah.
Also, haven't we in like
Piled up
Yeah.
for me.
to some extent?
For sure.
good point. Good point.
Hey, we're doing well on time. We can go all day.
Just the rest of this on straight on Stadia, Duncan.
Well, speaking of streaming technologies, Steam Cloud Play enters beta. It's like a hub thing that plugs into other streaming stuff, and currently it supports GeForce Now. It seems more of like a dev thing than anything else, because GeForce Now already like took your Steam games, but my understanding is devs can opt in to enabling their stuff for streaming, whether that be through Valve partners like GeForce with GeForce Now, or like through their own streaming stuff. And
Yeah,
later
like
on, who knows?
It seems like the kind of thing where if you wanted to do your kind of Steam in-house streaming that you normally do with like a Steam Link or whatever, that you can kind of offload some of the work onto their servers. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but
it doesn't seem, that seems like a possibility in the future, but not necessarily something that's built now.
yeah, like,
But I think what's cool about it is that it to me signals that they have the right approach to this, and they're not doing a like buy games specifically to stream kind of dumb thing. Not that I think they would do that, but it seems like this is a signal of, hey, we want to make sure that it's as easy as possible for you to use. If the end goal is stream your whole Steam library, it seems like this is the right first, like very early step towards doing that kind of thing.
It seems like an attempt to get around the issues of GeForce Now had when it launched, where people are like pulling their games from the service.
Totally.
And they have updated their policies, and now it's an opt-in policy instead of just we're going to put your games on here, and an opt-out policy. So at least the things are moving in that direction. And it seems like if they just, if you put your game on Steam, like, oh yeah, people can stream it, then it's easy for everyone. Everyone's agreed. They know what's up.
Yeah.
If you don't want your game streamed from a cloud for whatever reason, then you can say no, thank you. And I could see Microsoft doing, saying, "Hey, if you want to stream it, you have to do it on xCloud or whatever." Activision's like, you got to stream on whatever their streaming service is eventually.
I think it should become, and I think Steam is the right platform for this to push this, but I think it should become a pretty ubiquitous thing. I have obvious issues with streaming in terms of like data caps and stuff, but I think that I don't see why 5 years from now you shouldn't be able to just stream your whole Steam library, and it should just be a default thing we think about.
Yeah.
Game. I mean, we think about that with music and video, but I think the key thing is the problem with music is that it harmed the ability for musicians to make money so much, that I would hope that Valve would work to make sure that that's not something that happens here. But the answer is, you don't change the way that people buy the games. You just change the way they're delivered. And then you don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be as disruptive as it could be.
I think Steam by its very nature is born to be disruptive, because I mean, that's kind of what it did in 2004, right? Like, it was the first way, even a little bit before, but with Counter-Strike and Half-Life 2, when they were like, it was kind of it was rough then, but it was easier to get games that way than it was to pirate them, which started the whole online marketplace movement for games. So like, if they can do something similar to that for streaming, then I think that's positive. And
and like music, the same thing. Like, people started, less piracy happens with music because things are just available to stream, and it's easy to get. Exactly. And you can either listen to like free versions with ads, or you can subscribe and get your unlimited streaming and stuff. So.
I guess I just mean, I think the business model around games doesn't necessarily need to change in that direction. But certainly
you'll run into more maybe subscription stuff to help with server costs, maybe if like doing like GeForce Now, like what is Nvidia's incentive to make these streaming servers if they're not getting paid. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this continues to develop, and who else like does. Whether EA has a Orion, or is that Bethesda? Bethesda has a streaming thing. There's everyone has a streaming thing now. Yeah, I think it's called Orion. And like, does Steam start partnering with those folks as well? And it's like, I subscribe to Orion and I have my entire Steam library there. Or I subscribe to whatever and I can use that to stream my whole Steam library. It'll be, maybe you can't buy stuff through those storefronts, but it does just like let you stream a thing. I don't know.
I'm just gonna wait for the gaming Plex where I can just host my own.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what.
I mean, you kind of could do that now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just off your PC.
That's true.
Build a whole fucking server room that's only like hard drives with games and like 3 RTX Titans, all SLI together.
Wow.
You don't already do this?
It's my apartment is very small. I can only fit 2 RTX Titans in my server.
If I have 3 RTX Titans, I'm
I'm
not streaming from that. I'm just going to use it.
You should. Well, you can put it in your new fridge. It's all good.
There you go.
It's for I need the new fridge. I use the old fridge for cooling now. So, let's see. Okay, we got.
What else is pretty cool
here? Sonic.
There you go.
Nope.
There's one.
Nope.
The Hedgehog.
Wrong again.
The movie.
Incorrect.
Sonic the Hedgehog movie is getting a sequel. At least it is being produced.
Utterly shocking.
I mean,
successful children's movie gets sequel.
It's kind of amazing though that it's done this well, considering the initial.
Where's my Detective
feedback.
Pikachu sequel?
Yeah.
And like, I know you can't make a Detective Pikachu sequel based on how that movie ends, but also give me a Detective Pikachu
I
sequel.
haven't seen it, but
You should. It's good.
I'm gonna watch it still. I still haven't seen it either.
I'm the only reason I'm surprised is the fact that it ended up being good enough to warrant even the studio considering a sequel.
I'm not. That's the thing. Is I don't think it doesn't matter how good the movie is. It matters if kids go watch it.
But I mean, people had pretty
there's-
positive reaction. I thought it was pretty cute. So it's like, it's like not, like something that's being completely dunked on.
Right.
Like,
it sounds like it was good, and that is surprising. But also, I don't think getting a sequel to me is not particularly
right. It's not a marker
surprising.
of quality necessarily.
They also
It
seems like they planned for a sequel in the first place, but
maybe.
Yeah, that's
with how it ends, based
Also,
on
I
my
haven't seen
understanding, I still need to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. Given that it started as a punchline and now it's ended up as people are kind of shrugging and being like, "Yeah, it's all right."
Yeah, that part's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing because I still that first trailer, man, that was
it was something special.
that was special.
I maybe I need to go back and watch that trailer because I was like, I mean, kind of looks weird, but when I saw the updated Sonic, I was like, I guess it's different. I don't know. But maybe
that trailer has
fully processed what I was seeing. I was trying to block it out.
The trailer has Gangsta's Paradise playing over it.
Yep. Yep.
You're right. I forgot about that fact. Though all of that being said, what was the MPC moving picture company? That still sucks butt for them. They were the ones that did all the work on it and got shut down
and then got
thereafter.
Yeah.
So, boo.
Yep.
If only the studio had enough foresight to go, you know what, we might make another one of these and keep those people around.
Sigh. Anyways.
Yay. And next bit of news. Everyone's favorite MOBA, League of Legends, is getting a mobile and console version, and they finally showed off what that looks like.
This is interesting to me because I was expecting this game to be more different. I didn't. It's pretty much
They showed like I mean, they showed like a very minuscule amount, like during I think their 10th anniversary thing or something.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, that looks like it. It looks like League, but also maybe like a little different.
I was expecting it to be more different, I guess. Even
in what ways?
Well, in terms of like map design and
they took out the corner bits, so they don't have the little alcoves.
I was just expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be like just a different map entirely. I think, okay. and I kind of expected the UI and design to be a little bit more, I don't know, unique or something. Like it looks like
Riot has done a fantastic job with their mobile UI, as you know, from trying to play Teamfight Tactics on iPad.
The mobile UI looks, I think it's actually Teamfight Tactics on iPad is better now. I think they fixed that, but I'm not sure. That's good. I haven't tried it. It has good reviews on iPad, which I cannot imagine it would get good reviews in the. Yeah. But I don't know. It looks like a lot like Arena of Valor and other mobile MOBAs, to the extent that like UI. I don't know why someone who's already invested in and playing those games would move to this one. And I'm certainly, I mean, I still think it's cool they're doing it. I at this point now I'm like, I'll just play it on PC. I don't really have any interest in Wild Rift in particular anymore, because I was kind of expecting it to be a more different experience, I guess.
Yeah. I don't have any interest in playing on mobile, at least. Maybe I'll check it out on console when it eventually gets there.
That was
the way they're doing it seems pretty smart. They're like branching it from League of Legends, so it's got its own balance. Like abilities are changed. So, you know, certain champions like
their
don't
tweaks.
They're still like mechanically similar and identically like their identity as a character or champion is the same, but they just need to like, okay, we need to change the way this ability works to make it make sense on a controller or like on a
and device. I think that makes sense because it's just the nature of the game. I'm not really faulting them for that, but also that's part of why I don't want to play it now, because I already am not that good at League of Legends, and part of that has to do with champion knowledge. And so like trying to separate like, oh, Shyvana does this in PC and this in Wild Rift is like confusing in a way that I think it makes it sounds like it's not going to be to your benefit to play them both. And I think it contrasts with, and excuse me, it's like totally different games. So I'm not faulting Riot, but I've been playing a lot of Smite recently. Smite is just cross play on everything, because they didn't have to change anything to make it work with controllers because of the way the game was initially designed. So they have separate matchmaking hoppers. You only get cross played. You only get matched with mouse and keyboard people if you are partied. It's similar to other cross play systems, but it's great because I can play it on Switch while I'm exercising or whatever, and it's still the same. Everything's the same as on the PC version. It's just a different controller that I'm using. So I think it makes sense for League for them to branch it, like you're saying, because it's just a different form factor and a different kind of game. And you can't do a lot of the stuff on a controller that you do with PC League, but it also makes me less interested in playing it as someone who does play League on PC sometimes, because it's like, I don't want us to have to separate that knowledge.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that is received. The beta is going out to people who I guess signed up during their 10th anniversary streams, the Philippines and Brazil.
It's on Android only right now also.
Wasn't Teamfight Tactics on Android first? Maybe not. I don't
possibly
remember. They came out at like the same time, I think. Anyway,
but it's the other possibility is that this could be better than the PC game. Like, we just don't know. Seems unlikely, but
there are some cool stuff, like the Shyvana stuff you mentioned. Like, I would love to play that in the regular. I like Shyvana as a character, and I'd love to have that stuff moved into the PC version.
So weird as it sounds, if it turns out that, I think this is extremely unlikely, this is not a prediction, but if Wild Rift comes out and it's like the best MOBA ever or whatever, and that's just where the community largely moves, then great, sure, I'll switch. I'll play that instead. That's fine. I'll play it on PS4 or whatever and use a controller, because I like using a controller for games like that for sure. If they're designed for it well.
Yeah. The beta is also going to have like a limited character pool. I think I don't exactly know. They did like a thing in their detail video where they did like the Smash thing where it's like everybody's here and they go through every single fucking character. But for this, it was like maybe 20 characters.
I get the impression that not every single League character that exists is coming even with launch. Like I don't,
maybe not, like a lot of them are complicated and we'll need but I think they'll all be in there eventually. But
yes, for sure, I think the intent is to bring them all over eventually, but I think it's going to be more of a rollout.
Not all of them are up. So it's and I'll be like, I don't know if I didn't have time to watch the full video. I don't know if because they've made it so all your accounts connect, but I don't know if like my skins from League will carry over to,
I don't know,
Wild Rift and stuff.
I don't think they've said.
I would like that, but
you would hope that would happen, but who knows?
You'd hope it goes the other way too.
Yeah, frankly,
I don't see, maybe they do like some tie-in skins, like here's a Mario skin for Garen or something. I don't know. Mario doesn't use a sword, but
they do that with Smite, but they just don't get approval and make the skin a rip off of the thing.
With Rammus, who's like he's armadillo with spikes. They made like a Bowser skin for him early on in League, but I think they had to change it. Anyway, so that's everyone's favorite MOBA, League of Legends, coming to consoles eventually. 2 more stories. These should be quick. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is going to be the first fighting game with crossplay between 5 platforms. That's too many platforms. Stadia, PC, Switch, PS4, Xbox. Those are the 5.
So, yeah, I think so. But either way, I think it's a good precedent to set.
Yeah.
Totally.
People seem to like that game, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, but people talk about it.
I've heard largely positive things about it, honestly, which is surprising for a Power Rangers game and also for a Power Rangers fighting game.
Yeah. Good on them.
Yeah, I think crossplay should be the standard this coming gen for everything.
Absolutely.
And that would be what Sony coming out and say, and there's no crossplay. That'd be too funny to me.
You don't have to deal with the toxicity from other platforms.
Yeah, just the toxicity of our own.
Just the toxicity from PlayStation.
Okay. Last story. You might remember a few weeks ago we talked about The Culling Origins, I believe, which was the re-release of Battle Royale game The Culling, and their interesting business model where you pay about $6 for the game, and then once a day you can play for free, but after that you've got to pay.
Yep.
And their site now appears to be down. I'm trying to load, and I'm not getting anything. And their Steam reviews are overwhelmingly negative.
Oh yeah,
I'm shocked.
Overwhelming. I looked there. It's like I don't think I've ever seen an overwhelmingly negative that red.
So things are looking good for Pat, who
predicted that
this game would be this site is down. The game would be dead within 31 days from May 14th. We are still 2 weeks away from that, and anything can happen.
Doesn't seem unlikely. Yep. Mine was July 1st. Allison's was mid-August, and then Andre was end of summer. So
yeah, I believed in them too much. I thought they would stick it out, but apparently
I thought they would be like
they're
like sunk cost, like stubborn about it.
Their foundation was not solid.
No.
How much money do you think they made?
Not very much.
$20.
That's optimistic.
They sold 3 copies, and they got people to play 5 times.
Yep.
Extra,
It's-
5 times extra.
Yeah, it's really something special, but not in a great way.
They all played 1 extra game on that first day, and then one of them dropped out, and then the other 2 played 1 extra game. So
I don't see it on Steam.
interesting.
I searched The Calling and I got The Calling 2, but I don't think that's what it was it?
No.
I got the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah. Elder Scrolls Online, Master Chief Collection, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt are the 3 top results when I searched The Calling.
Whoa.
The
Weird.
Culling of the Cows.
Yeah.
I don't even. Huh.
Okay, I was able to get to
So-
it by a Google search, not a Steam search. Just now. But yeah, it seems
Huh.
at the request of the publisher, the culling is no longer available.
There you go.
for sale
It's
on
already
Steam.
dead. It's done. It's
But
over.
Wait,
it's still on
wait.
Xbox
Is that-
One.
Oh.
Okay.
It's the Xbox
Interesting.
One version is the one that we care about.
Was it The Culling Origins? That's what it was called? Yeah.
Yes. The Culling Origins.
That's with the new free to play, pay to play model.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about and bring up with regards to games news?
The last tweet from the Culling Origins Twitter account was, "There used to be a graying tower alone on the sea," from March 18th.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's not even. That's before they even re-release the game.
I know this account is verified. How?
What?
How?
Didn't they make it so you can gift blue check marks now? I mean, maybe it's
Oh,
can-
yeah, maybe somebody that worked on
Maybe-
it had a check mark and
or maybe we can reach out to the Culling, but hey, if you're not using it,
hey, we'll all buy a copy of your
We'll
game.
give you $20, and there you'll double your take from the game.
Still double your revenue. We'll double your revenue, whatever it was, for your check mark.
I'm sure we can afford that.
I am looking at the developer's account, which has some more stuff. The last thing they said was the culling is live on the Xbox Store, basically,
Oh boy.
and that was on May 14th.
yeah.
I am excited to say that that final tweet, that there used to be a graying tower alone on the sea, has 69 replies.
Nice.
Nice.
Finally, something we can be happy about today.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, thank you for joining me for episode 123 on May 30th, 2020. We're going to make it through together, everybody.
Hmm.
We're about halfway there.
Yeah, but how bad is 2021 going to be?
Yeah, because I feel like for the past several years, it's been like, all right, last year was bad, but this year's going to be good. And then it gets worse.
It keeps getting worse.
2017 was all right.
2017 was great.
There's a meme that's like someone looking at the calendar on New Year's, or like the clock on New Year's, and it says like, oh, it's 11:59 on December 31st, 2020. And it flips over to 13/1/2020.
That's strong. Yeah.
Very good.
So fuck. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite home appliance. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex, where can people find you?
On Air Fryer Fix.
Okay, we'll get that going live. Look forward to all our hottest home appliance reviews coming at you.
Pun very much intended.
Allison, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
And Pat.
You can find me at PJC Plays.
Great. You can find our podcast on Twitter at Fix Podcasts, or you can go to fix.space and read our reviews or find our podcast on your platform of choice through that website. And you should head over to podchaser.com/gamingfix to leave us a review and help us improve the podcast. I believe that's everything today, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Fuck the police.
Yes, indeed. Fuck the police for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That's it.
I still need to do a clap at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, again? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
My
Yeah.
audio fucked up in the middle.
Alright,
I adjusted my leg and then my mic cable came like.
Oh, I've done that
Yanked all the
before
way
too. It's like, oh no, yeah.
It's fine. The original file's fine, but
It is safe and sound.
Namaste.
we want
what
to
time?
do. At this point, let's do 05.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Now
All
I'm
right.
hitting stop.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.